In today's show, we will be talking about a continued sweater knit, some new spins that I have finished, as well as a finished weaving project. Hey everyone, I'm Marina and this is Pineapple Knits, a channel dedicated to all of my crafting in knitting, weaving, and spinning. You can connect with me on social media at Pineapple Yarn, and you can visit me on my website at pineappleteyarn.com. Thank you so much for joining me again this week, and Happy New Year. The last time I recorded an episode was before Christmas, so I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year. We made it to 2021. Not that that really means a whole lot, but it kind of does. I always start the new year and I always feel like it's such a fresh start, and even though maybe life circumstances are the same, I do think it's really nice to just have a specific marker in time to set some goals for the next 12 months and not really resolutions, but I think it's just really great to look back on the last 12 months and see what you've accomplished. And especially with knitting, with crafting, it's always fun to look back and see all of the projects you've accomplished or skills you may have acquired. So I just think it's really nice to have that specific marker in time to look to the past, see how much you've grown, and maybe see how much you've overcome, and then look to the future to set some goals, set some projects, and maybe learn some new skills. It's always a great time of year to do that. For those of you who might be new, welcome. I am coming to you from coastal South Carolina. We have had so much rain, so much funky weather. It was, I think, low 70s Christmas Eve, and then we had a massive cold front come through. I know north of me, they had tornado warnings Christmas Eve because of the contrast of the fronts that were meeting, and then we had a very cold Christmas and a very cold, the 26th was very cold as well. So I think we've kind of settled into 50-degree weather, and so it's definitely cold enough to wear all the knits and all the woolly accessories. And so today I'm wearing a dotted raised shawl. Y'all might recognize this. This is a pattern by Stephen West, and I knit it from I believe it was a 5 or 6 50-gram skein gradient that I dyed. And so let me set this down and I'll show you. Many of you will recognize this because I knit on this forever, but this is what the end looks like, and it was just such a fun, kind of one-of-a-kind set. It wasn't one-of-a-kind, but it wasn't repeatable, so I made multiple sets, but it was not repeatable colorways. So this was a really, really fun knit, and I love the dotted raised shawl pattern. You'll know that. So I have that on today. And then behind me on my mannequin is a finished weaving project that I will share with you in the weaving section of my video. And I shared that beginning, I think I just warped up my loom maybe last episode. So we'll chat about that in just a minute. I am drinking a latte that I made myself from an espresso machine that my husband bought me for Christmas. And this mug is a really sweet mug from a friend, and so I'm just really enjoying life right now. I have a latte that I'm drinking. I used oat milk. It's delicious. And so, yeah, I mean, couldn't be better for an afternoon, right? Well, I took some time off right after Christmas. I had fully intended on recording an episode between Christmas and New Year's, and I was kind of burnt out, to be honest. Christmas was very, very busy, and I just needed some time to do nothing, honestly. And so I was filling orders and kind of doing, daily things, but I wasn't dyeing any yarn, and I was just crafting and resting, and it was really, really nice. And so let me show you what I did during that time. I have been working on one knitting project, and it's my sweater spin. It's the Forager by Isabell Kramer. And before I get into that, actually, now that I'm thinking back, it seems like forever ago that I recorded. So I might be a little scattered, which is nothing new. But I actually knit between maybe around the time of the last episode, I think I knit 12 beanies for gifts. If you count all of the hand-spun beanies that I knit several out of my Nui yarn. It's a very chunky single ply yarn. And I have a pattern for that hat. I'll link it below. It's a free pattern. But I knit 3 of those that I didn't even show y'all. So I just knit those really quickly, put a fur pom on top, and gave those away as gifts. I knit 12 hats this Christmas season. Is that crazy? So I did not work on this a ton, my Forager sweater. I am knitting this out of my handspun yarn. It was 4 different clubs that I had received from Hedgehog Fibres. I had purchased these as they're in their 3-month club subscription. I always renew my subscription to it. And I've talked about this quite a bit. So if you're interested in the nitty-gritty details of how I spun the yarn, how I've paired different fibers up with each other, I have lots of details on that in previous episodes. And I will also link my project page below, because I did start a project page on Ravelry. But that being said, here it is. I love this sweater. I started out with this sweater and I wanted something super casual, and I wanted something that was super comfortable. So basically I wanted a sweater sweatshirt. And this is it so far. I finished the ribbing on the bottom from the last time we talked. And then I also got this sleeve done. This is, I'm knitting this in the smallest size, but my gauge, I'm getting a larger gauge. I'm knitting this using the US size 4 and 6 needles as recommended in the pattern. I normally size down on my needles, so I would say this is larger than the smallest size, which is exactly what I wanted. And I love the fabric that this is creating. This is just really, it's not a tightly knit fabric. I wouldn't even say that it is going to, I mean, it may pill, but it's not going to be like a hard wearing garment, I don't think. So this is where I'm at. I just have to finish the ribbing on the sleeve and I'll be done with this sleeve. The reason I didn't do much of this over Christmas is because it's really fiddly. And so what I'm going to have to do here is start on this sleeve, and I am managing 4 different balls of yarn at a time. And not only am I managing 4 different balls of yarn at a time, or cakes of yarn, each cake gets 2 rows. And so this is why it looks kind of like micro stripes on this, is because each of those is 2 rounds or 2 rows of each ball of yarn. So let me just show you. I feel like for only having 1 sleeve left, I feel pretty good about my yarn quantity right now. So this is just 2 balls, and I have this one, and then I have another one. Let's see if I can hold it. So this is what I have left. I definitely think that's enough for a sleeve. But so far so good. I am loving this pattern so much. There's a lot of shaping in the shoulders. It's not just like a top-down raglan sweater. There's a ton of shaping in the back. And so I don't, actually all through the shoulders, all through the yoke. And so maybe you can see with the stripes, you can kind of see the pattern that it's making. That's the back. This is the front. But if you want a really great fitting sweater, Forager is it's a really great pattern. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really not doing any modifications, except I didn't do any of the cabling in the sweater. There's some really pretty, just very small details of cables and a ribbed braid. Yeah, I'm not doing any of that. So that's that. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I have talked quite a bit in past episodes about it, but let me show you what I still am using my dish pan. I use these for kind of yarn management when I'm dyeing yarn, when I'm washing yarn. I always use these dish pans. They're very durable and clean up really well, but this has been really great for yarn management. So Forager, I will keep kind of slogging along on it. It's been kind of a slog, to be honest. I love knitting with my Handspun, but I have to, it's not an on-the-go project. I have to sit down and have the dish pan of yarn sitting on my lap, and then I take out each cake of yarn, set it next to me, knit 2 rounds and kind of make sure all the yarn doesn't get tangled. I put it to the back of the line and I continue with the next cake. And I did get into a rhythm probably about halfway down the sleeve, just as far as like where the decreases needed to be. And yeah, so it's a great sweater pattern. I don't know next time when I do a handspun sweater if I'll do it this way, but it was good to try. It was good for the first try. So hopefully I will be done probably in the next week or 2, and then I can wear it, which is really exciting. I'm going to move on to spinning. I have a massive amount of spinning. I spun so much and spent so much time on my wheel over Christmas break that I have so much finished yarn. It's too much for one episode, believe it or not. I finished 3, 4, I think I finished 7 skeins of yarn, which is insane. It is. So the first one I finished, I've talked about this before, and this was what I kind of considered my Advent spin. This was a scrappy sock bundle, or scrappy sock bats, I think, from Wound Up Fibres. And I've talked about that in past episodes, but this is what the finished skein looked like. And it was a really fun spin. I really, really enjoyed taking time every day to work on this spin. I love how the colors turned out. I ended up chain plying it to keep the colors together. So when I go to knit with this, it will be self-striping, which is really, really neat. Y'all be proud of me too. I actually took these tags and wrote all my notes down on it. So how much it weighs, I wrote the grist, I wrote the, you know, how I spun it, what ratio, everything. And so my issue with this is I was a little disappointed with how it turned out because I feel like it's too thin for socks at this point. Let me give you a close-up. This is a little over 700 yards for 4 ounces of fiber. And that to me is just very, very thin. It's very thinly spun, even as a 3-ply. And so you can kind of see the colors are beautiful. And I like that portion of it. But I just don't know, and I won't know until I swatch it. I just won't know. I won't know exactly what I'm going to do. So this is a superwash merino. It ended up being pre-wash 726 yards. So with the superwash, it's probably not going to shrink a ton, but I always kind of account for maybe a 10% loss on it. So even then I still have high 600 yards. And I don't know, I felt like I put a ton of twist into this yarn, and it didn't even, I would say it's maybe at a 40 to 45 degree angle. I wanted it to be a little higher twist just to withstand socks. I don't know, I might just cast on and knit some socks, maybe with a size 0 needle, which is small. It's like a 2mm needle. I don't know, I might save it for a project. I'm not really sure. I really need to swatch this and just see. But the highest ratio that I have on my Kromsky minstrel wheel is a 16:1. And that's what I spun this. So I actually spun it on a 15 or 16:1, and then I plied it on the 16:1, and I just don't think it was high enough. It wasn't high enough for how fast my hands were going, and I tend to treadle slowly, like that's my default treadle. And so I ended up purchasing the extra fast whorl for my spinning wheel. And so we'll see if I might put a superwash merino on there as soon as I get the whorl, and try again and see what kind of yarn that creates. But I've kind of been encountering that a little bit with my yarn, is as my skills improve, my hands get faster, and then maybe my feet slow down. I don't really know. Maybe it's because I spin mostly at night and I'm tired. I don't know. But anyway, this was a fun spin, and hopefully I'll be able to knit socks out of it, because I think it's going to be really gorgeous for socks. But I'll keep you updated as always. And yeah, I'll probably swatch this at some point as well, just so I can make an educated decision as to what to do with that yarn. The next yarn I would like to share with you is a yarn that I actually dyed for an update I had on Christmas night. I guess it was the 25th, and it was at 8:00 p.m. And I just did some really, just a few really fun kits and different items specifically to celebrate the new year. I do that. I've done that for the past several New Years. I just like to do kind of pastel-y, metallic type kits and yarn. And so this time I added fiber, and I had been saving this fiber for a long time. It is a 70% merino, 30% gold stellina, which is mind-boggling, because my yarn that has gold stellina in it is Gold Nani Twist. It's the yarn I carry in my shop, and it has 5% stellina. So this is 30% in this fiber. And so I decided to spin it up as is. I didn't blend it with anything. And so this fiber is called Sparkle and Joy. I thought it turned out really pretty. So it's kind of a blend of grays and pinks and mauve. and it's on this merino and gold stellina base. And I know you can see the sparkle. It's like just a crazy amount of sparkle. Because there is so much sparkle in this fiber, I wanted to make sure to not over twist it or over ply it, because it would get kind of ropey and wiry with the stellina. And so I was really careful. I actually wrote a tag for it. I'm so excited. I'm getting so organized. So let's see, it says I spun this at an 8.5-to-1 ratio, and then I plied it at 16-to-1. And that's what I've been doing, is as I've felt more comfortable plying, and I actually watched a really great Craftsy class, and it was, I think it's maybe spinning from worsted to woolen with JC Boggs Faulkner. I think that's the class that I learned this. If you want some really great instruction, definitely check out that class anyway. But as I've become more comfortable with plying and kind of figured out how to ply in a really consistent way, I love plying on a high ratio whorl, just because I can go really fast. So that's what I did with this one, and I love how it turned out. It is just over 4 ounces. It's 116 grams, so I don't really know. I always over measure my fibers, so I guess this was just a larger fiber. But when I wound it up before I washed it, it was 99 rounds. So that ends up on my skein winder to be about 200 yards. Because I have it set at 2 yards. And so each round is 2 yards. Anyway, so pre-wash, this was about 200 yards. And so again, I always take about 10% into account for shrinkage. And so this is nice. I mean, this is definitely enough at about 180 yards to knit a hat from or something. And that's what I intended with this. I thought this would be such a beautiful knitted hat. Again, like with a lot of my handspun, I love knitting hats from it. They make really great gifts, and they're just kind of fun and festive, and most of the time when I gift them, it's a really fun gift. So anyway, that was Sparkle and Joy, and I may have one more bundle of this fiber in the shop right now. I know I have 2 Sparkle and Joy kits right now that are still in the shop. But yeah, that was a really fun kit, and I'm glad I saved some of that fiber for myself. The final spin that I'm going to share with you is one that you've seen. I worked on this, I've been working on this through December, I guess. I don't think I started it before December. This was a fiber that was gifted to me, and I've had it in my stash for a bit, so I decided to practice long draw, spinning from the fold off the tip of my finger. This is a fiber called Ponyo. It's from Paradise Fibers, and it turned out so pretty. It's just a really pretty, definitely predominantly light blue, but it's a merino combed top, and the fiber had streaks of coral in it, and also lighter, like a very pale, almost like a white gray color. And so I really wanted to preserve those colors. I didn't want it to get muddy. And so I decided to do a 2-ply woolen spun yarn. So let me give you a close-up of this yarn. I ended up with 2 skeins of this yarn, so this is one of them. And as you can see, I'm sure you can see just the pops of coral in this yarn. This is not my most consistent spin, but I'm okay with that because this is the first time I've spun off the tip of my finger. And when you're learning something new, You're not going to be perfectly consistent, and that's okay. So I completely got done. I just got done recording this entire episode. And from the last clip you just saw, my battery died. My camera died. So I just lost all of that. Anyway, as you can tell, I was, different neck wear, everything. So I guess I was talking about this yarn. I have quite a bit of yardage. The finished yardage is probably, I'm looking at the tag right now. I had over 600 yards, a little over 600 yards with both of these skeins. And so I think I'm going to put them at about a sport to DK weight. And so that's quite a bit of yardage for a project. So I don't know, maybe it'll turn out to be a sweater for someone in the family, or I don't really know. It's a beautiful yarn. I'm very happy with it, even though it is inconsistent in spots. It's definitely still usable. It would be beautiful woven as well. So yeah, I was happy to spin that up, practice some long draw, and practice a new technique and learn that. So all in all, it was a really great spin. And I don't know if I said this in the last clip, but I spun and plied both of those fibers at a 16:1 ratio, which right now is it's the fastest whorl I have on my spinning wheel. I think I know where I'm at in the episode. Bear with me, y'all. But anyway, so let's talk about this finished weave. This is a really fun weave. I kind of decided to do spur of the moment. I have no Christmas accessories, no hats, no shawls, no sweaters. So kind of sad. So I just decided really quickly to warp the loom up and make this really fun scarf. I dyed this gorgeous cherry red. I just kind of made it up. It's not a colorway that I have in the shop. Obviously, if you're interested in it, I definitely can dye it if you want to just email me or message me. But I wanted to do a really, a tonal, darker contrasting yarn on the warp, because I wanted to use Surfing Santa on the weft, and that is a colorway in my shop, and it has it's a very light and bright yarn, and so I wanted it to be a really great contrast. So I really could not be happier with this scarf. I think it turned out so gorgeous. It's a balanced weave. Both of the yarns are a DK weight, and I wove this on my Krumsky Presto loom, and it's a 10-inch loom, so it was a very, very fast weave. But as you can see, those variations, those color variations are just so pretty. I'm really happy with the selvages on this. I'm going to toot my own horn because they're pretty even. I'm really happy about that. Speaking of things I have improved this year, I just started weaving this past summer. So really happy with how my weaving skills have improved. And then these fringes, I just did a twisted fringe on the edge. I did no hem stitch. I just did a twisted fringe to hold the beginning and the end of the weaving. And that's fine. I mean, it's not the most tidy, but for what this project was for, it's totally fine. So those just turned out like kind of chunky and fun and just perfect for this scarf. So I'm really happy that I just kind of decided on a whim to start this. It's such a cute scarf, and I wore it quite a bit, and it was really festive and fun, and it was a really fun project. So I'm glad I did it, and now I have one Christmas accessory. But other than that, that is the crafting I've done. Like I said, I did several other skeins of handspun. I will talk about those later on because this is already getting to be a really long episode. But yeah, this week I went back to work, dyeing yarn, getting your clubs ready for you. All those pre-orders will go out a day later. Actually, that is what I wanted to mention, is that I will be shipping those out on January 11th instead of the 10th. The 10th is on a Sunday. And so I am prepping those this week and kind of in a crunch getting those out because of New Year's Day was on a Friday and then I lost 2 days over the weekend. So I am hustling getting those out for you. So hopefully that will be okay for all of you. And I'm dyeing up some more yarn for a shop update next Friday, which is the 15th of January. And so yeah, just kind of getting back in the swing of things. And I've been planning out some crafting for 2021. I've decided I'm going to knit a sweater for everyone in my family, and because why not, right? Just why not? So after I finish my Forager sweater, which is going to be for me, I am going to knit my husband a sweater, and I will keep you updated as far as the pattern I'm going to be using and the yarn and all of those details. So it's going to be a very simple sweater, but I think it has, I chose the pattern I'm going to use, and it's going to have some interesting details and interesting construction, I guess. And so the fit should be really nice, and it should be exactly what he wants. And so that's been maybe 5 or 6 years ago I knit him a sweater. So I guess it's about time that I do it again, knit him another one. But yeah, so just planning that, and I actually cleaned out my fiber stash this past weekend, which is a little scary. I have a lot of fiber, especially from different monthly clubs. I have some from Paradise Fibers. I have a lot from Paradise Fibers actually, and a lot for me is a tote's worth. So I know that that's probably not the case with most of you. But I really want to move my stash quite a bit, and so I need to figure out what I'm going to spin. If I need to maybe give those to new homes, if I need to just be very intentional and spend a lot for my stash, which is honestly probably what will happen because I love all of the fiber. I just don't like things to be stagnant. I like things to be moving, and I'm not one of those people that like keeps it for the sake of keeping it. I really like to use things in my stash. So I don't know, I need to think about that, but I do need to get something back on the wheel because my wheel's empty right now and I just spun so much. So I want to keep that momentum up and keep my skill building up as well. As far as weaving plans, I still want to start weaving some dish towels. So I need to put in an order for that cotton, and I'll definitely let you know how that's going. We'll see. I feel like that's going to be a big challenge, and I'm not really I'm kind of playing with the idea of leaving that until it gets a little warmer, only because I don't want to knit sweaters in summertime, if you know what I mean. It's just yeah, I don't really like a very large pile of wool on my lap when it's really humid and hot. So I might save the dish towel weaving for later in the summer. I don't know, we'll see. So those are some of my projects planned for 2021. I'm really excited about it. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep creating beautiful things and keep building my skills, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. So I hope that all of you have a happy new year. I hope you have made lots of crafting plans for 2021 and are planning just some really wonderful projects and have found a lot of time to craft and make and enjoy that time. So thank you so much for watching today. It's so nice to be back here with you. And I would love if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I will see you in 1 week with another episode. But until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.